Welcome to the Channel for Grace. Gobind will be live shortly. Book a tarot or astrology reading on our website, channelforgrace.guru, and check out our latest programs and classes. Please give us a share and a like, and we hope you enjoy the broadcast. Welcome to the Channel for Grace. Gobind will be live shortly. Book a tarot or astrology reading on our website, channelforgrace.guru, and check out our latest programs and classes. Please give us a share and a like, and we hope you enjoy the broadcast. Welcome to the Channel for Grace. Gobind will be live shortly. Book a tarot or astrology reading on our website, channelforgrace.guru, and check out our latest programs and classes. Please give us a share and a like, and we hope you enjoy the broadcast.
Hello everybody. How's it going, you guys? Welcome to this video. My name is Gobind. This is your Channel for Grace. Thank you guys so much for being here live and also watching the replay. Please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up if you're watching, and also subscribe if you're new to the channel, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified of when I go live and when I upload new videos. Tomorrow, can you believe tomorrow is the new moon in Aries already? It feels like not too long ago, we just had that full moon in Virgo, and now, or full moon in Pisces, and then here we are with a new moon in Aries. No, it was definitely in Virgo. Sorry, I just had a brain fart. So we just had that full moon in Virgo, and now here we are, new moon in Aries. Today is actually the darkest day of the moon, and I'm doing this astrology video because I want you guys to know, as usual, the power that the new moon and the full moon has to affect our lives both collectively and at an individual level. We also just had the spring 2020, or the spring equinox on last week on Thursday. So that's another major thing that has sort of opened up, or that transition that we've gone through. So what we're going to talk about today is what this new moon in Aries means for us collectively and also individually, because I'm going to go through your individual sun sign and rising sign and tell you how it's affecting you in your own chart. But before we get into it, let me say hi to everybody that's in the chat, and then I'll share with you some awesome stuff that's happening this week that I'm really excited about. So hey Dawn, welcome in. Hey Diana, how's it going? Hey Sparky, how are you? Deidre, how are you? Wendy, how's it going? Valerie, hello. Shannon, welcome in. Lindsay, welcome in. All right, you guys, awesome. And if you're new and you're watching, let me know that you're in here. Just say hi. I have a Facebook group which you can join. It's called Channel for Grace Soul Tribe. Right now, we're actually doing a 40-day meditation together. With the start of the spring equinox, hey Elizabeth, we are taking advantage of this portal that has opened with the spring equinox, and it continues to be open with this new moon in Aries, which is basically the first new moon of the whole year, of the whole astrological year. So the 40-day meditation is for us to align all of our chakras, to connect our Kundalini energy, to awaken the Kundalini energy, to balance ourselves on a physical, emotional, mental level, and also to understand and align with our purpose in life. And that's the 40-day meditation, which you can do with us if you join the Facebook group. You can also follow me on Instagram as well at Channel for Grace. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Elizabeth. I think I said hi to you already, but thanks for watching, you guys. I'm glad you guys are here. It's interesting because the moon, I think it either is about to, or it just moved, is about to, or it's going to be moved into Aries. And then tomorrow morning will be this new moon. The really excited thing that's happening this weekend that I can't wait for is my Spring 2020 webinar. So I want to invite you guys, hey Darcy, I want to invite you guys to that personally here on the channel. It is happening Saturday, which is the 28th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central. There's a link in the description to sign up for that webinar. And what we're going to talk about in that webinar is basically the next 3 months. There are some major, major stuff going on. Thank you, Morningstar, for that donation. I really appreciate that. So there is like some major, major astrological transits that are happening between now and the next 3 months. That includes the first and actually the second Jupiter and Pluto conjunction. It includes obviously the Saturn in Aquarius transit. It includes 6 or 7 retrogrades, like I think 7 retrogrades, including we're going to have let me actually pull up my notes so I can give you very precise information. But we're going to be having some major, major stuff. So it's those conjunctions. It's, we're going to have full moons, new moons in between there. Pluto's going to go retrograde. The nodes are going to move into Gemini and Sagittarius. Saturn will go retrograde. Venus will go retrograde. Jupiter will go retrograde. We'll have actually a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius in June. Mercury is going to go retrograde in Cancer. Neptune's going to go retrograde. And Mars is actually going to enter Aries. And the 3 months end with the second Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. So it's such intense energy. It's hard to describe what it all actually means, but that's why I wanted to put it together into a webinar that we can all, that you guys can watch and get a clear picture of, for the next 3 months, what's coming, and then how is that going to affect me personally. So if you want to sign up for that, it's only $15, and the link is in the description of the video. Also, if you guys haven't signed up for my newsletter, I have a free moon astrology guide available for you guys when you sign up for my newsletter. But basically you get once a week moon magic report where I tell you where the moon is in the sky, in what sign and in what phase, and how that's going to be affecting us and the way we process our emotions during that week. That happens once a week. And then I release special transit emails where I tell you about some special transit that's going on that week, plus how it's affecting you, your sun and rising. The next one that I'm going to be uploading or sending out is going to be, well, Wednesday I'm going to send out the Moon Magic Report. And then next Sunday, I'll be sending the Mars enters Aquarius email. So that's happening too. Also, I'm doing Friday night readings, and every Friday when you sign up for a reading, you will get entered to win a free reading from me. It can be astrology or tarot. I'm going to change that up every month, but once a month, I'm going to give out a reading, and every time you get a reading on Friday nights, you get entered to win. You can have multiple entries as well. So we have one more Friday in the month of March before I do the drawing. So if you want to sign up for a reading this Friday, make sure you get on the list. Just send $25 to my PayPal and I'll add you to the list. And all the links of everything that I'm talking about is below. And then another thing that I'm just talking to Jason. Jason is my friend. He has another YouTube channel, Ray of Light Tarot, it's called. He actually really has been inspired to do a 40-day cleanse. We call it the 40-day magic cleanse. And he was asking me earlier today if I was interested in sort of hosting one with him. And so we decided that we are going to do it. I believe we're going to be starting next Wednesday. If you're interested, there's a video in the description of this video that says the 40-day magic cleanse, and you want to watch that video because it'll give you all the information you need about the cleanse, and it'll help you decide if this is something that you want to do for yourself. So if you want to join us on the 40-day journey, it starts with a 10-day deep cleanse, and then it goes into 30 days of just healthy eating and taking in the Purium. That's what we use, Purium products, which is basically superfoods. So that's all the exciting stuff that's happening. I'm the most excited right now about the spring webinar happening on Saturday. So I hope you guys join for that. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Your allergies are kicking your butt, Valerie. Crazy. You took a nap after the meditation? Nice. Yo, my dog was like antsy before we started the meditation. And then once it was over, she was like snoring. I like looked back and I'm like, oh, that made her fall asleep. It always does every time I meditate. Yes. Oh, till you get paid. Try not to use the credit. Yeah, exactly. We have to be careful with what we're spending our money on, right? Okay, so let's talk about this new moon in Aries. The reason that this new moon is so significant, first of all, is because it's the first new moon of the astrological new year. Aries is like the beginning of the zodiac. He's the first sign of the zodiac. So we call him the initiator. He's a cardinal sign, and cardinal signs initiate things. They get things started. He's also a fire sign. So it's this fiery start, right? It's the spark that lights the whole thing up. This new moon, just like the equinox that we just had, hey Michelle, is like a vision of the year ahead. The themes that we are going to be focusing on, what we are in a sense going to be initiating in our lives. This is the beginning of a new path, and one that looks promising because we're asked by Aries, who is the Fool, to leap and to trust that the universe will catch you. Aries is the Fool card. Hey Mary, welcome in. Namaste. So Aries is the Fool card. So who knows what the Fool actually represents in tarot? The Fool is, it's like a naive courage, unstoppable, you know what I mean? Like movement forward. In the card itself, the Fool is like running full speed ahead, getting ready to like fall off a cliff, because the Fool doesn't really know, doesn't really care what's on the other side, because it trusts fully where its intuition is guiding him. And I like to tell people that have Aries moon or Aries energy, it's like your intuition is impulsive, but you're usually right on it. Hi Boobarth, welcome in. If you're watching, let me know you're here, say hello. But basically, you know, this is a powerful new moon to set our intentions of the year ahead. Usually new moons are good for us to set intentions and do a little, you know, meditation or visualization of what we want to achieve. Normally that's like for the next 2 weeks until the full moon, where it comes to fruition. But this time, because it's the first new moon of the whole year, it's going to be a theme for the whole year. So you want to be setting your intentions based on what do you want to achieve this year? What do you want your life to look like in a year? Hey, Stephanie. And this isn't just any other year, you guys, because remember, this is the spring solstice or the spring equinox. We're going to have the summer solstice in June, around June 21st. And then there's going to be the winter solstice on December 21st. Well, during the winter solstice, that's the day that officially begins the Aquarian age. Now, how do I know that? Well, I've studied this stuff, you guys. I've read like tons of books on the topic, and my favorite astrologer, Barbara Handclough, she talks about the significance of this day. On that day, Saturn will be coming back into Aquarius. He's in Aquarius now. He's going to be in Aquarius until May. Then he's going to retrograde back into Capricorn. And then when he comes back into Aquarius at 0 degrees, Jupiter is going to move into Aquarius as well. So they're going to conjunct on December 21st of 2020 in the sign of Aquarius, which is the beginning of the Aquarian age. So there's also something powerful about equinoxes and solstices and the alignment of the earth on the ecliptic, which is basically the plane that all the planets are on in relationship to the sun. So there's a significance there. And we know that in ancient cultures, anytime there was a solstice or an equinox, people would gather. It would be a very sacred time because it's almost like portals open energetically for us to align and connect. And it was like the balance, the space in between the space, which is another very powerful aspect of the Mayan calendar, which I'm actually studying right now. I had no idea Barbara Handclough wrote a book on the Mayan calendar, so obviously I had to get it. So hopefully that's going to arrive soon, and I am going to know what the Mayan calendar is actually all about. I know, like, you know, enough to get around, I guess you could say, about the Mayan calendar and the significance and the fact that it supposedly ended on in 2012. However, and it was also, you know, on a solstice, I believe. So, however, there is a power to these solstices and equinoxes. And so this year is not just a regular year. It's not just any other year. There's going to be there is a lot of change coming. And it's really good to have a goal. It's really good to have a vision that will always guide your every move and help you get through the rough times. This new moon is also ruled by Mars, right? Because we think Aries, what rules Aries? Well, Mars rules Aries. And Mars is actually in Capricorn right now, asking us to take our time and build our future one piece at a time. To not like get ahead of ourselves, but also to remember to keep our goal in mind. And if you think about like the connection between now and what's going on in the world, the fact that everybody's slowing down, everybody has to slow down and like stop, wait a minute, you know what I mean? That kind of energy is what's happening right now. So in, you know, the Capricorn, when you think of Capricorn, also ruled by Saturn, and then Saturn is in Aquarius. So there's this like linkage. There's like a connection, right? It's like Moon in Aries, ruled by Mars, who is in Capricorn, Capricorn ruled by Saturn, which actually just moved to Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, who's, you know, asking us to build a new world. There's all of these intricate connections going on right now. If you look deep into the astrology, you'll be amazed at what you actually see, all the connections that you can make. So it's just a powerful time right now. And what I want to show you, just like I always do, is the chart, the astrology chart, and also go over each of the aspects that are going on during this new moon so that you understand what the theme of the new year is all about. So I've switched the screen, but I'm also going to connect my iPad. And I thank you guys for being here as well. Kelly, if you're in here, make sure you tell me in the chat. I have a new friend, you guys. I've connected with her on Periscope, and she also does intuitive tarot, and she also does astrology. So we're going to be working together sometime very soon. need to make sure that I can mark up this page, so just give me a second. Okay. So here we are. This is the chart for this new moon. Kind of interesting. There's a couple of stelliums in the sky, one in Aries and one in Capricorn. So those two themes are important for this new moon. Yeah, space in between space is like the pause. It's almost like the pause in between the inhale and the exhale, where it's not an inhale anymore, but it's not yet an exhale. It's a theme that appears in the Mayan calendar. It's a concept that they use in the Mayan calendar. It also happens in between years. They always have one day a year that is not, you know, the next year yet, but this year has ended already, and so it's no man's land. I know I use some crazy terms. Okay, so here's the first thing that we're going to look at. We're going to look at the Aries stellium, which is right down here. So what we see here, we see the sun, we see the moon, we see Chiron. Black Moon Lilith is there too, but I'm not going to include her in this reading. It's just going to get too complicated. So we're going to focus on Sun, Moon, Chiron. This new moon is literally conjunct Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, who just happens to be in Aries, right? That's why they're conjunct. So Chiron in Aries represents a crisis over identity. It's the need to know who you are. It's when we ask ourselves the questions of, why am I here? What do they want from me? Who am I? Right now, essentially, that's what we're all asking ourselves, especially people who are awakening. And until we discover who we truly are, we're going to feel that restlessness, and it's not going to go away. That's the Chiron push, because Chiron pushes us to heal. Wherever Chiron is in your chart, if you're 50 years old, if you're turning 50, by the way, you're going through your Chiron return. The last time Chiron was in Aries was like 50 years ago. Hey, Christina. So that's the Chiron push. He's pushing us, he's pushing humanity in general to realize who we are beyond the illusions of the modern world. Chiron in Aries is also about coming to the realization that you are here for a reason. And we're blindly, because Aries is a little bit blind, in this like Aries fashion, like the fool, we're leaping into the unknown. We're jumping off the cliff and trusting that the universe will catch us. Chiron actually moved into Aries in 2017, and he won't complete his transit until 2027. So it's going to be here for a while. This is a theme. He's like an outer planet. He's the rainbow bridge between the inner and outer planets, but he takes a long time to do his orbit. So this is a theme that's happening for us for a while. This conjunction is actually, it's a little bit difficult of a position because it creates intense emotions. Chiron kind of brings out the emotions, right? Because of the conjunction with the moon. So why are these emotions having to come up? Well, they're just intensified in a way. They're just becoming intensified, and they're like being seen. They're coming out to be seen in like an Aries fashion, impulsively. It's too powerful. It's too intense, right? But the key to work with this energy is to master the energy of responsibility, of stability and structure in our lives. That, you could say, is the Saturn energy. We have to master Saturn. However, because Aries is not one to commit or stay the course, hey Peter, meaning it'll initiate change, but it's not really good at sustaining it. It jumps around starting things. So if you're like strong Aries energy, you can initiate things really well, and then it would be better if you delegated things to other people so that the project would actually get completed. So it requires freedom to move on to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. That's what Aries requires. So the key to actualizing the spiritual beauty of Chiron, because it is a spiritual beauty, conjuncting the moon, is to ground yourself, to balance yourself, but to give yourself also room for transformation. So that's the Saturn aspects and Uranian aspects, freedom and revolution. And I think that it's just fabulous and not a coincidence at all that Saturn is actually in Aquarius, which is the Uranus ruled sign. So it's like the freedom aspect and the balance are there for us all in one package if we choose to take it. So let's talk about the fact that, well, actually all of this energy is T-squaring the nodes. So remember, the nodes are destiny and karma, future, past, things like that. The North Node is in Cancer, South Node is in Capricorn. So a T-square is like a challenging obstacle placed in our way to get resolved. Squares and oppositions help us to resolve things in our lives and to move forward. But if we don't solve those things, we'll just stay where we are. If you have too many trines and too many sextiles in your chart, it'll be harmonious, but you won't really go anywhere, because that's not, that, you know what I mean? That doesn't grow. It just kind of, it's beautiful and yay, that's it. So because the sun, the moon, and Chiron will be T-squaring the nodes, this is actually an urgent call, a challenge to heal at a soul level so that we can fulfill our destiny. With all of the collective changes that are actually happening, this is a portal to fulfilling humanity's destiny as well. So remember that the nodes are actually moving into Gemini and Sagittarius in May. So these are the last few opportunities to work with this Cancer Capricorn energy or duality. You can even say that this time the lockdowns and the quarantines are here because we actually need to stop and look within, to observe what we're doing and how our actions are actually affecting the world. Our individual actions are affecting the world. It almost feels like a wake-up call for everyone, the whole worldwide. And it's so crazy because Aries season is a very normally Aries season is very action-oriented. It's the fire, right? It's initiation. It's like bursting out, full force, impulsively. Aries wants to go out, not in. So there's like this weird flip, this weird dynamic going on. So having to stay home or having to stay still in one spot drives Aries crazy. It can literally drive Aries to death. But guess what? That's the key. The point is to drive Aries to death. Not in a literal sense. Don't misquote me. But the key here, because Aries in this sense represents our ego, that part of us that only thinks about ourselves, the shadow side of Aries, right? The selfish part of humanity and the modern world. That part of ourselves is being put in a timeout. And unless we are able to go within, become the observer, which is what Chiron in Aries is asking us to do, we're not going to transmute what is being initiated to transmute. So Aries can't just be Aries in the natural sense. It has to be exalted Aries. It can't be its shadow side. he can't just be the warrior, right? The impulsive warrior. He has to become the sacred warrior. And that is Chiron in Aries, the sacred warrior, awakening in the collective. Chiron is also the rainbow bridge between the inner and the outer planets, which means that he opens the door for us to reach into the deeper psychological and subconscious trauma of our past and transmute them into healing ourselves and how we outwardly express ourselves, our personality, our actions, everything that is expressed here in the three-dimensional world. So this new moon is a big deal because what it's literally asking us to do is it's calling for a massive soul healing, a sort of ego death, the shadow of Aries, the need to have everything your way, and that's it. No one else matters. You are the most important. It's like the narcissistic side. It's narcissist, right? Wasn't that the name of the Narcissus? What was the name of the I think it is. Anyways, doesn't matter. So what I actually think that this is, it's a breakdown of our shadow self when it comes to that egomaniac narcissistic aspect, and then a fresh new start to actually step up and become the sacred warrior. The other aspect that is going on here, we're going to go just one by one, is Saturn squaring Uranus. Totally so many egos being tested. I think that it's interesting because Saturn is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. So what's kind of going on here? I think Saturn is actually looking to Uranus for guidance here. The square is going to challenge us to balance, find the balance between stability and structure and freedom. So with Saturn being in Uranus's ruling sign and Saturn being the traditional ruler of Aquarius as well, he also rules Aquarius traditionally. This is a powerful activation because remember, Aquarius and Uranus is the energy of the Kundalini energy awakening. Squares challenge us to take action, to resolve conflicts. The challenge here is to find the middle ground that satisfies our need for freedom as well as our desire for stability. So with Saturn discipline, right? With discipline, we're going to get the work done. And that's exactly what we need to be doing as we move into the new world. We need to be disciplined in our evolution towards freedom. It sounds like an oxymoron. Disciplined freedom. Band together. Yes, that's a good way to put it too. But Uranus is offering a way to channel that square because he's also sextiling and trining the nodes. So he offers us a way to, okay, let's channel this energy this way towards our destiny. Mercury, where's Mercury at? Here he is. Mercury is in Pisces. So Mercury is the planet of communication. Whatever sign he's in sort of paints, gives it a way of communicating. Tells us how he's going to communicate, how he's going to express himself. So Mercury in Pisces is the voice of the divine wanting to come through. But the funny thing about Mercury in Pisces is a water sign, and Mercury is ruled by an air sign, which is Gemini. So think of like moving through molasses. That's kind of what Mercury in Pisces feels like. It's like we're moving through molasses. It's like slow moving. We have to pause sometimes. We have to observe. So the communication that comes through Mercury in Pisces comes through poems and symbolism instead of like clear, straight through communication. It comes with emotion and compassion instead of just thoughts and the quick mental activity. Things have to be deciphered by feeling into the meaning, not by logically figuring out the calculations. You won't understand unless you are feeling for the answer, unless you are tuning into the energy. So he is asking us to communicate, to express our deepest truth, and to let our hidden side be known in whatever expressive and artistic way it wants to come out, or it chooses to come out. So for this next year, we will be opening ourselves to communicate with the unknown, to reveal what is hidden, and to bring to the surface that which is time to be seen. And the last aspect is Venus. Venus is in Taurus. She's the goddess of love. She is trining Mars, Pluto, and Jupiter over here. And she's also sextiling Neptune, who is in Pisces. So the goddess of love is looking at all this, masculine energy, because Mars, Pluto, Jupiter, that's pretty masculine, saying, can we slow down, please? Can you hold your horses? We have to take our time. We have to take it one step at a time. We have to see the beauty all around us. We have to be with nature. We have to be with the earth. We have to listen as we begin our journey upwards, right? We need to start down here, right, on the earth, grounded and rooted on the earth, in order to get up there. So the root chakra, the meditation that we're doing, the 40 days, we started with the feet. And the feet are like literally connected to the earth at all times. That's the root. That's the grounding. It's like, how do you walk among the earth? But in order to get to when you get to the crown chakra and the higher chakras, it's like you can't get there unless you're grounded. You can't get there unless you understand. You got to go through all the levels, right? You got to go one level at a time. You can't jump ahead. And that's the importance of that, is being revealed to us during this new moon. To slow down, to smell the flowers, and to see the beauty all around us. That's where we start. We start there, and then we take it little by little, and we progress forward. And that's basically what this moon is all about. It's like an individual journey, but it's not an individual journey, it's a collective journey because of Chiron being right there. Yeah, me too, Wendy. Okay, so here's what else I wanted to do for you guys before we leave, is to go through all of the signs, the sun and rising signs, and tell you what house this is happening in your chart. So who's Aries sun or rising that's watching this video? It's time to realize what's truly important in life. Yeah. So if you're an Aries sun or rising, this is actually happening in your first house of self-identity. This is the initiation to discover yourself. So I call this the sacred warrior emerges, right? I call this video the sacred warrior emerges. By the way, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, especially if you're here live. You can just X out of the chat, hit the thumbs up, and then come back to the live chat. But this is for Aries sun or rising. This is like an initiation into the journey of discovering yourself. And so all of those things that are the shadow side of Aries, that's what you are literally transmuting, that the shadow side of Aries into the more exalted, into becoming the sacred warrior. That's going to be your journey for this next year. And it's significant because it has to do with yourself. very specifically. Aries rising especially. For Taurus, who's a Taurus? Taurus, sun or rising. So if you're a Taurus, sun or rising, this is happening in your 12th house of the subconscious mind, ruled by, Neptune, Pisces, the divine energy. So for you, this is like an initiation of uncovering what is hidden. This next year, you're going to be uncovering things. Things that are, it could be things that you're not wanting to see. Usually the subconscious mind holds everything. And when you start to take the veil out, it can get kind of ugly. We don't really like to see those things or acknowledge them. They're really difficult. It's really intense work, spiritual work, to go in that direction. But you will be uncovering what is hidden for this next year. Oh, it's all good, Britt. So who's a Gemini or a Gemini rising in the chart? If you are, this is happening in your 11th house of friends and sharing your gifts with the world. So what is the theme for you for the next year or so? Well, this is like the initiation of you speaking out and sharing your gifts loud and clear. Because it's Aries, right? It wants to say it. It's going to say it. It's very excited about it. So you'll be learning how to speak out. Speak up sometimes, speak out. Depends on how comfortable you are with being out there in the world. But as you go through the inner journey of getting rid of that shadow, that ego shadow, you will start to move into the being able to express more freely. Once the healing occurs, then you go to the next phase, right? Or once you observe what's going on, then you move on to the next phase. And the next phase is, okay, maybe I can share my story. Maybe I can talk about it. Who's a Cancer or Cancer rising? If you're Cancer or Cancer rising, this is going to happen. This new moon is happening in your 10th house of career. So it's a very fiery activation of your career and your external persona, like how you present yourself to the world. Some of you guys might be going like full speed ahead towards towards your career. Maybe you're starting something new. Maybe there's a new idea. But it has to do with how you present yourself to the world. And a lot of times it's, what's not work, because career is different, right? Your career can be, I'm a psychologist or a psychotherapist, right? That's my career. And that's how I present, that's the persona you present to the world. But the work that you do is different, because the work is more like, well, what do I do every day? Well, I see clients, or I do paperwork, or I do charts, or whatever. So this isn't like work per se, the everyday thing. It's actually the actual persona that you present yourself as. I am blah, 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 blah. This is what I do, right? I would say I'm an astrologer. But what I do every day is, I go live on YouTube, I do personal readings, I look at charts, I read books. Like, that's the work, but that's not the career, right? So that's the difference between those two. So if you get the 10th and 6th house mixed up, that's a good way to define it. So that's for Cancer. Who's a Leo and Leo rising? If you're a Leo or Leo rising, this Aries new moon is happening in your 9th house of spiritual integration. Spiritual integration. I love the 9th house. The 9th house is one of my favorites, along with the 12th house. Because these houses are they're spiritual in a sense. And so I don't know, I feel a connection to them. I love when people have powerful transits in their ninth house. It activates them on a spiritual level. So this for Leos is the initiation of a spiritual journey. You are leaping into the unknown to discover who you are on a spiritual level. And if you think you know who you are, you don't know the whole story yet, right? You don't know the full story yet. And so you're going to be on the journey to discover that story. Who's Virgo and Virgo rising? If you have Virgo sun or Virgo rising, this is happening in your 8th house of change and transformation. Now, the 8th house is ruled by Pluto, so this is kind of a little bit tricky. So it's a huge shift for you. It's a big, like, kapow moment, right? But it is the initiation into self-transformation. You feel a pull, you know, to change. You feel a pull. Something has to change. I have to change. I got to do something. I got to take action towards change. And it's going to be, you know, in your life, it might have to do with any area of life. It could be your own personal self that needs to change. It could be, so change encompasses all aspects, but change is the theme. So you're initiating a self-transformation journey. Who's Libra and Libra rising? If you're Libra or Libra rising, this is actually happening in your 7th house of relationships. You know, it's so interesting with Libra and Aries because Libra and Aries are they're the dualities, right? They're opposing each other. Hey, Julene, Libra and Aries oppose each other. So Aries is at one end of the spectrum, Libra is at the other end of the spectrum. So I think it's interesting for Libras. They actually want to find balance in relationships. However, what they really need to do when it comes to relationships is learn to be independent instead of relying so much on relationships. So because they have Aries at the cusp of their 7th house of relationships, even though they are the sign that rules relationships. It's very interesting. So for Libra rising, this is an initiation into understanding your independence when it comes to relationships, to discovering who you are independent of those around you. It's a very interesting twist to the story. Now, Scorpio, who's a Scorpio or Scorpio rising? If you are, this is happening in your 6th house of work and the present moment. Now, this is the house where when I was talking about work and the stuff you do on a day-to-day basis, this is work, right? But this is also the house of being in the moment and grounding down and anchoring the light, calling in the divine. So for Scorpio, this is an initiation into becoming an independent entity when it comes to work and being present in your life. That's probably, it's not difficult for Scorpios to do that either. Because I think Scorpios tend to be more reserved. The Scorpios that I've met, I have a friend who's a Scorpio, and he's very reserved. You don't really know what's going on. He'll just kind of tell you what he wants to tell you. He'll reveal to you what he wants to reveal to you, but he won't really tell you the whole truth unless he feels completely comfortable and safe. Right? So, finding independence in the 6th house of work and being in the present moment means you have to dig deep and discover. Because Aries is not, it doesn't really align with Scorpio energy. I can't see Aries and Scorpios like getting along very much, right? I'm generalizing and wrong probably about some relationships, but Aries, remember, it's almost like Aries is the little kid that's like jumping around the room and going crazy and like woo and like doesn't care, and you know what I mean. It's very hyper, And it's like, yeah, let's do this. And then Scorpio's like, oh my God, that's really distracting and obnoxious, right? That's how the Scorpio energy views the Aries energy. So it's not, they're not like synchronistic. So this is an interesting, so what is Aries really asking you to do? Well, Aries is asking you to kind of maybe step out of your shell a little bit. Step out of your shell a little bit and be comfortable with, I don't know, working. Maybe it's showing what you actually do to other people. Maybe it's just letting a little more of yourself, like, to be seen. That's funny. All right, letting a little more of yourself be seen. That's interesting about Scorpio. I'm Gemini and I do that. Most people don't really know the depths of me unless I want them to. Well, I wonder if you have some powerful Scorpio placements in your chart. It'd be interesting to look at. I know we've looked at your chart, but I don't remember right now. But that's why you can't determine everything by just your sun and your rising sign. That's why it's so important to always look at your chart like fully to get a full picture of all of your energies working together. Valerie. So, but this can give you a little glimpse. And for some of you, this really resonates, like as we can see, right? So, Scorpio, you are very mysterious. You're very mysterious. And I think you will find your own way of working with this energy for this next year. You definitely have a house in Scorpio. So you will have, and you have to also, now it's not just, you have to look at Scorpio, what house you have in Scorpio. You also have to look at where Pluto is in your chart because he rules Scorpio. You also have to look at Mars because he also rules Scorpio as well. So it's an intricate dynamic, but you definitely have Scorpio in your chart. But if you have significant Scorpio placements, then that might be where that comes from. But you know, I think Scorpio, you'll figure it out. You'll find your own way because you have to do it your own way. It has to be like, you have to be comfortable and you have to feel safe to show up in the world. Because that's basically what this is about. This is the initiation of basically showing up in the world. So how are you going to do that? You'll figure it out. Who's Sagittarius or Sagittarius rising? If you are, this is happening in your 5th house of creativity. So this is basically, for Sagittarius, it's an initiation into expressing your desires through creativity. You know, taking it in your own hands and creating independent of what anyone thinks of what you are doing and in what way. There you go. This is about massive, like powerful, like this is a cool placement because like we said, Aries is that cardinal energy. It's that initiating energy. It's that spark that lights the whole thing up. So it's lighting up the world of creativity for you. So you'll be exploring different ways of being creative this year. I think it's going to be really fun for you guys. Different ways of expressing yourself through creativity. And it's going to mean something powerful to you. And what you create will resemble this, you know, it'll be like an expression of your own healing journey in some way or another. It'll be the expression of your independence from the shadow side of Aries, of the ego. Who's Capricorn or Capricorn rising? If you are Capricorn, this new moon in Aries is happening in your 4th house of the home. So it's like giving some life to this area. I think that it could possibly mean the initiation of a new home, finding yourself in a new situation when it comes to home. Or it can mean a new way of expressing yourself at home. You know, I think that Capricorn is also very reserved, like Scorpio is. Capricorn doesn't really share its emotions. It's kind of a private energy. It's very focused. So it's almost like no BS, the no BS zone. So for Capricorn, Aries also isn't the most fun energy to be around, because again, Aries can get too intense for people. So you could be finding or being encouraged to express yourself more loudly or more impulsively, not to hurt anyone, but to say what you want to say. It's like taking your power back in the realm of home. Capricorns normally have this authoritarian or authoritative energy, and people normally or naturally look up to people that have a lot of Capricorn energy in their chart, because it's ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is the responsible one. It's the teacher. It's the authority, right? But remember that Saturn, you know, your ruling planet is in Aquarius right now, which is ruled by Uranus, and it's an air sign. It's very different than Earth sign, and it's very active and it's very moving. And if you combine air with fire, it just like ignites it even more. So it's just like a boom. Like it feels like this boom energy going off in the realm of the house. But then it's almost like, okay, let's pick up the pieces and like try to figure out what this all means for us. So your realm of the home is being affected right now. It might be this fiery thing going on, and I think you have to find your way through it. Find what parts of you need healing in terms of this home aspect. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is happening in your third house of communication. So this is the initiation into speaking your truth out loud. Expressing your viewpoints and trusting that they will be heard. Trusting that they will be heard. Aquarius sometimes seem a little bit aloof, and they have these ideas that are just kind of out there sometimes. So I could see Aquarius getting like frustrated because no one understands them. Right? No one understands because they're so futuristic. They're like alien energy. They're like way beyond the normal. I know a lot of Aquarians, and it is this way. They are very different. They are very different. Their minds work in different ways. They focus on things that are more worldly. They think about complete structures at once, complete systems, not just the specific, you know, individual thing. But Aries is that individual energy. So Aries, I think, is asking you to heal the wound in yourself where you feel like maybe no one listens to you, and people will start listening. And I say that a lot of Aquariuses, I say this, that Aquarius is going to be the leader of the Aquarian age, right? So as we transition into the Aquarian age, the Aquarians will start to feel super comfortable and will start to also come out of their shells. And that's what the theme is for you for this next year. So Pisces, who's Pisces or Pisces rising? For Pisces, this new moon is happening in your second house of finances and the material world. Or basically like the three-dimensional reality. definitely sparky. We learn a lot. We learn a lot from our parents, from the people that parented us. We do. We take on. I'd be interested to see where your Aquarius or where your Saturn is in your chart. Yeah, Gemini and Aquarius get along really well. They're air signs. And the nodes will be moving into, the nodes will be North Node Gemini, South Node Sagittarius when we officially begin the age of Aquarius. I think that's really cool. So for Pisces, this is the spark of like a new adventure towards taking your power back in the world of financial stability. It's like a drive, like an impulsive drive that can activate within you a new way of bringing money into your life, or a new way of connecting with the material world. Usually we think about the second house, we think about abundance and, you know, calling it in. This is like how we make money, right? So it's like, okay, let's charge that aspect of our lives back up. Let's turn that on. That's significant, Julene. That's career for you. It's very powerful placement for an Aquarius for that house. The personality that you give off to the world, the persona that you give off to the world is very Aquarian in flavor. That's why you align so much with it. The midheaven means the 10th house of career. Those are your nodes, Diana, and those are my nodes too. Yeah, so it's like something's gonna shift, something's gonna change financially for you, Pisces, and I think you're gonna learn to activate like maybe a whole new thing. Like maybe there's a new project that's gonna start up. Maybe you're gonna get an idea that's gonna start up, and it's all really gonna lead towards like you're calling in, you know, the money. You're calling in the finances. You're finding new and innovative ways to be creative, but also bring it in. And that concludes all of the signs. Yes, so that's what I mean. So there's so much to look at in your own personal chart, you guys. It's remarkable, the kinds of things that you can see. Everyone has every single one of these signs in their charts. Yours too. So for those of us that have Gemini, North Node, Sagittarius, South Node, share my what? You'll feel a reactivation of your purpose and your destiny. You'll feel like, okay, it's time for me, like this is it. It's my time. I'm going to do what I came here to do. And that's purpose and destiny. So you'll feel that reactivation. When the nodes come back, you're having a nodal return, basically. Thanks, Valerie. You're welcome, Deidre. You're welcome, Darcy. Thank you, guys. Tomorrow we're going to do the new moon ceremony. So same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll go live, and what I do in that ceremony is I create sacred space. We use the drum, the chants. If you've never done it, it's just really awesome experience. It's really beautiful. You just connect deeply to the realm of energy, and it's a very grounding experience. I also sing and play my guitar and sing my original songs. So it's a ceremony. It's being in sacred space together to celebrate the energy of the new moon. I also do it during full moons. And sometimes I was thinking of, sometimes I'll do it for like equinoxes and solstices, but mostly new and full moons. Everything is in Gemini for me, Boo Barth. I'm a Gemini sun, Gemini rising, Venus in Gemini, Chiron in Gemini, North Node in Gemini, all in the 12th house. I'm a 12th house Gemini. Yes, we're going to have readings on Friday, so make sure to sign up. Thank you, Wendy, for putting that up. But also, you're welcome, Elizabeth. But also on Saturday is the spring webinar. So remember, I'm not going to do a monthly astrological forecast anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a quarterly, seasonal astrological forecast, which will be in the form of a webinar. And it'll be like $15 to join in. So I've been getting ready for it. There's so much information. It's going to be a jam-packed night. It's probably going to be about 2 hours long. It's this Saturday at 6 p.m. Please don't miss it, you guys. There's a link in the description to sign up for that. You're not going to want to miss this information. It's the only way I'm going to put it out there. I'm not going to do a monthly thing anymore. I decided it's time to shift it, to switch it. I won't do another one until the summer solstice in June. Yes, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Wendy. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and supporting the channel in whichever way you can. Thank you to those of you, I think it was Dawn that donated to the chat. I always appreciate that. Awesome, Alexa. Thank you to those that are here in the chat. Thank you to those that are watching and they're not in the chat. That's totally cool. And thank you for joining, supporting me by joining, the programs and the classes and the webinars and all the stuff that I do outside. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on my Instagram page, which is at Channel for Grace. You're welcome, Lindsay. And definitely join our Facebook group if you want to join us for the 40-day meditation that we're doing. So I hope you guys have a good Monday. I'll see you tomorrow morning in the Facebook group for the meditation, and then tomorrow evening for the new moon ceremony. Have an awesome night, you guys. Ciao.